Follow the Watcher to your destination, summoning a T-Rex.
There is one thing Capcom know how to do, is to give the player a weapon and say, hey, here are some big beasties, go crazy. Taking inspiration from its other franchises, such as Dino Crisis and Monster Hunter, along with some concepts from titles like Overwatch and Back 4 Blood, there is a mixed bag of fun to be had here. Exoprimal does well to scratch an itch that I didn't realise I had when it comes to the vast destruction of dinosaurs, attempting to interlace an interesting single-player story between a repeated multiplayer gameplay arc consisting of other real-world players. Pitting futuristic fighters against prehistoric predators in PvPvE-based combat, this game is far from a dino snore.
A brand new is taking damage. Defend it. Combat test complete. You are victorious. Congratulations.
The game begins with a news bulletin, one that does well in smoothly hinting toward the game overview as well as alluding to class selection. The year is 2043, and in a fashion similar to that of the film Pacific Rim, pilots are trained to Neuralink into specifically designed exosuits, invented by the corporation Ibius, in order to defend humanity against dinosaurs. At the heart of it all is a highly advanced next-generation AI named Leviathan, because nothing ever bad happens in a story that involves really smart AIs, or dinosaurs for that matter.
Welcome, fighters, to an ongoing series of war games. I require your continued participation in my combat tests.
Needless to say, we, the player, are one of these pilot recruits. As Ace, the hotshot ladies man, or man's lady? No sexism here. We join a crew set out for some good old-fashioned dino genocide, but not until we've done a touch of the old classic character customization. You'll find that Exoprimal has stripped back the large array of fine-tuning options that we're so used to nowadays, which in my opinion is a really refreshing change. This does make sense, however, considering that most of the time you'll be in an exosuit, only really seeing your character briefly in cutscenes and post-match breakdowns. Definitely no need to be tweaking eyebrow length or cheek depth here. After one training ground tutorial, we're soon thrust into the action in a faux match with AI players. The gameplay arc is fairly simple. In Groundhog Day fashion, you take part in 5v5 team-based war games designed by Leviathan, that each consist of 2 segments. The first requires you to complete several objectives faster than the enemy team. Each time one is done, the Watcher tells you whether you are faster or slower than the opposition, with red ghosts showing how far ahead or behind they are. Upon completion, you then undergo interdimensional travel to the second section, which is where things get a lot more interesting. This can either consist of further PvE objectives, or a mix with PvP. Missions can include objectives such as escorting NPCs, pushing and defending the payload, or my personal favourite, the Carnage module. There is nothing quite like the sight of seeing literally thousands of dinosaurs descend from the sky as you ready up every bit of kit you have, essentially reenacting the Ice Age.
Prepare for battle. Over here, a raptor swarm is cresting over the Ibius Corporation building. The tower provides a striking backdrop for the raptor cascade. I advise you to prepare your strategy while the raptors fall to the earth below.
Each team is built up of the usual 3 roles that are tank, damage and support. Players are able to switch between them on the fly, mid-game, at any moment, which is both incredibly helpful and also incredibly frustrating at the same time. In theory, this would allow a team to mix up the paradigm depending on the situation. In reality, people just like making things go boom. As an Overwatch player, this does not surprise me, but being able to flex is always good fun. This is helped by the fact that each exosuit is fairly well balanced in terms of viability and playability. After all, a tank with a Gatling gun and rocket still makes a dino soar in the morning. Team voice chat is available, but for the less vocal players, there is a pin location or enemy option that is very helpful. Personally, I really enjoy the mix of PvPvE, especially when you get that sweet taste of victory after constantly hearing, "You are slower than the enemy team," only to bounce back at the very end because you managed to channel your inner John Wick. Now, it doesn't mean to say that you still can't cause some mayhem if it was purely PvE, as each game will provide one dominator to each team. This is essentially where you pull a big old dino out of the space-time continuum, take control of it, and go full Jurassic mode on the opposition. Timing when you pop this ability is crucial in changing the tide of battle. Using it too soon may mean the whole team can easily focus fire you, whereas too late and you may not be able to stomp on enough metal to make a difference.
Asset has been restored. The asset has been damaged.
At the end of each match, players are ranked by points and given various accolades and awards, such as MVP, most damage dealt, most damage blocked, most time heavily breathing into their mic, longest AFK, and so on. Your performance ranks up not only the exosuit worn during the match, but also your overall play level, as well as, you've guessed it, a survival pass. Yes, this game has a battle pass microtransaction aspect to it, as well as a loot-based reward system in the form of war chests, added to the ever-growing list. Thankfully, however, not pay to win, as the battle pass is purely cosmetic. Players need to level up individual suits the good old-fashioned way to unlock modules that enhance abilities. Once unlocked, you can then use bitcoins, very clever, as in-game currency to buy and upgrade them. Now, let's take a moment to discuss one of the rather clever aspects about Exoprimal, its ability to interweave a single-player story into a purely multiplayer gameplay loop. It does this via the analysis map. Here you're able to review all the lost data acquired at the end of a match. These are given automatically the more you play. Designed like some FBI red string on a pin board spider's web, the game slowly reveals more information about you, your crew, the island, the corporation, and how everything ultimately pieces together. As well as reading text and listening to the voice clips of characters, you're also shown segment by segment summaries of what has been discovered so far. In between all of this, you're treated to small but well executed cutscenes that do well in fleshing out each character.
We fight. We fight!
My kind of guy!
Oh, you're broadcasting this?
Never waste a good speech.
Come down, son. I ain't even sharing. Knuckles all ashy. Cocoa butter on this goddamn island.
This made me feel more a part of the crew, despite being the silent protagonist. Every other character is voice acted, and in my opinion, quite well. Progressing the story, in turn, also unlocks more maps and game modes. This initially felt like a bit of a grind, where the early stages felt repetitive, killing the same dinosaurs and completing the same objectives. Getting through that stage was well worth it, as the game eventually shows off its true potential, and boy does it show. That final battle was pretty darn epic. The story itself is well thought through, although I did feel there may be one or two points where I needed to suspend belief, in order to allow what is overall a decent tale be told.
Chief, the best screwdriver is missing.
The game itself looks solid in terms of visuals. I turned my settings down to medium to allow a stable FPS with all that mayhem going on. Although I did get the odd drop, it was negligible to affect overall experience. I only came across one glitch where the map remained in interdimensional mode, which to be fair was kinda cool because it made me feel like I was fighting in the Matrix. My main gripe though are load times, between cutscenes and also time to gameplay. This does vary, but on occasion I could have probably made a cup of tea before the action had even started. For that variation, it's okay. Design is good at allowing you to get vantage points and behind cover depending on the situation. However, even when getting to endgame, I did notice the selection pool wasn't huge, so you will soon recognise where you are quite quickly. The menu feels pretty bare bones at present, with only one game mode available until you complete the game. Customising and tweaking your rigs is pretty simple, but I would have appreciated a window that allowed me to see a summary of each exosuit's abilities instead of having to test them all out in the training grounds first. I downloaded and completed Exoprimal on PC Microsoft Game Pass. All the footage you see is such. Time to complete the main story, less than 30 hours. I also had a run on the Xbox Series X for comparison purposes. Much the same as before, smooth game, minimal issues. But if you need that drink or fancy sneaking in a quick chapter of your book, load times still felt pretty long. Overall, Exoprimal is a good time. It succeeds at giving you that almost pick up and play, overpowered feeling of blasting through waves upon waves of enemies, whilst also keeping you gripped to a story that, although can be confusing at times, is rather clever and interesting. Once you power through an initial lackluster few hours, you'll be rewarded with an excellent third-person shooter and an urge to rewatch the Jurassic Park films.
Initiating.
For more gaming reviews, come check out VGamingNews. I've been Tom. Until the next time.